free Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
People are learning in a classroom how money is made from home at Online Trading Academy. Just how much?
100, 200, 300. They were able to get to $500 a day in a little over 8 months. 500 a day, folks, is $10,000 a month.
Get classroom instruction on how money can be made from home and how risk is limited. Learn stocks, options, futures, forex. Learn step-by-step from professional traders at Online Trading Academy.
Everyone starts off very small baby steps. You know, if you can't average $100 a day, there's no way you're going to be able to make $300 a day or $3,000 a day in the markets.
Thousands have learned how money can be made from home with limited risk at Online Trading Academy. Attend a free half-day class to see how it works in Broward and Palm Beach. Online Trading Academy. Call now. 561-674-9800. 561-674-9800. That's 561-674-9800.
Talk here, talk there. Talk 1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
This is Tanoa Lynn Poirier, and I want to welcome you to Comm-Unity Conversations on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. This show is about you. I want to hear your trials and triumphs, challenges and victories, and how you overcome obstacles every day in our dynamic industry. All callers are welcome to join Community Conversations. This is where we'll discuss all things in common. We'll discuss managers, directors, vendors, and owners. Let's elevate the conversation. Raise the bar. Start here, now. Good afternoon. Hello, it's Friday. You are listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa. I'm your host, Tanoa Lynn Poirier, and I am so happy to be here. Literally, I came from downtown Court. There's a lot going on. It's been an insane week. And if my hair looks a little bit like I combed it with an egg beater, it's because it's crazy windy here as well. But I'm super happy you're here. And we're going to learn something today. I have an amazing guest. As promised, his name is Michael Nero. He's with 5 Star Paving. And I'd like to introduce you. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Lynn. Glad to be here.
Oh, thank you for agreeing to come. I'm always super excited when a guest agrees to come because I always get to learn something and you get to learn something. As you know, the focus of this show is mostly community associations, management, and best practices and vendors managing projects. Today, we're going to talk about really an important topic, and that is paving, and try to dispel some of the terms we use interchangeably like seal coating and resurfacing, which are not the same thing. And then we're going to talk about how we take care of problems before they get bigger, and they will cause trip hazards and the kinds of things that cause the macadam or the blacktop to buckle. And in Florida, we all know it's live oak trees, right? That's kind of our nemesis. The builders love them. And they're beautiful, but they grow and they put them close to a parking lot. And here we are. So then we have to call on somebody like Michael. Michael, would you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself?
I'd love to. Been in this industry a little over 25 years. The first 10 of it, I was actually what we call a lay-down contractor. I was on the job sites doing the work, seal coating, paving. Got a little hot, got a little warm on the paver in the hot Florida summer days. And then brought myself up to the sales and marketing end of it. And I've been doing that for the last 15.
Now, I met Michael, I don't know, it was a few years ago working on a property. And I had just taken over the property and they had a myriad of problems. One of them really having a need to resurface. But as we're going to talk about, that's not something that people typically are prepared for in terms of what they've budgeted, either in their reserves or if they don't have reserves that they haven't counted on. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the kinds of things Michael runs into when people get what can be sticker shock when you present them with a proposal to resurface.
Yes, you get that a lot of time.
Right.
a lot of times the board don't know where they need to be as far as financially. What I'd like to do a lot is reach out to my property managers, a lot of my clients, ahead of time and let them know, listen, you should start budgeting for this. Well, we don't have a budget. Well, let me give you a budget.
Yeah.
All the estimates are free, so it's really doesn't cost them anything for me to come out there and measure the property for them.
Would you help the audience and me, because this is always a good education for me, tell us the difference between seal coating and resurfacing?
Sure. Seal coating, well, you have your different types of seal coating. There's your coal tar emulsion and an asphalt emulsion. Both are seal coating products. The biggest misconception of seal coating, a lot of people like to think that it covers cracks, that it covers minor imperfections. The other misconception is that I find a lot of them want to do it every 2-3 years just to make it look, new again.
Right.
The other misconception that they have of seal coating, and a lot of people use this term, as you just mentioned, resurfacing.
Right.
Resurfacing is basically an overlay or new asphalt on top. I know a lot of people in the up north regions of the United States call resurfacing seal coating. Here, seal coating is seal coating. Resurfacing is usually overlay or mill and paves.
Would you help us understand sort of the difference in the process of that? So seal coating, you have to scarify the area. You have to kind of explain what the process is.
Seal coating, you almost got that. Seal coating is you have to make sure the lot is clean first, free of debris, free of sand, because the sealer needs to adhere to the parking lot. Usually large blowers, steel brooms, stuff like that to get all the large debris and sand off is typically done prior to the seal coating. Okay. That helps everything to stick. As you were saying with the scarifying,
that's resurfacing.
That's going into a mill and paving.
Yeah.
That's like the large machines you see on 95 that are grinding them up and spitting them in the back of the truck.
Right.
That process is one of the best ways to go if you're going into a new parking lot. Okay. And that's where a lot of property managers really need to reach out for budget figures because that's where the sticker shock comes.
Right. Now, what he said about people thinking that seal coating, which basically does make everything nice and fresh, and along with that, there are typically repairs. And then those repairs are completed potholes or cracks or issues with tree roots, etc. But once it's done, it's really a nice, smooth surface. What people expect is now that that's done, that all of the underlying patterns of the parking lot are going to come through as soon as someone drives on it, right? They're going to be obvious that you're not resurfacing. It's just repairing and putting a kind of a top coat on that as a stopgap measure until you...
Correct, an emulsion.
Right.
It's it does help protect the asphalt. What it does with the asphalt is in what we call virgin asphalt that's never been sealed. It helps slow the intrusion of water and other issues going into the base.
Yes.
Here in South Florida, we're basically muck.
Right.
I mean, this used to be nothing but Everglades and swampland. And your parking lot is only as good as what your base is. And if you don't have a good base, then you're going to get all this stuff coming back up, settling, sinking, cracks.
And what signifies a good base?
The type of base rock.
Okay.
There's different types of base rock, of shell rock. There's lime rock. And approximately 5 to 6 years ago, DOT, Department of Transportation, has approved crushed concrete because we have so much abundance of concrete. So they're allowing that now as base rock.
And is that the same as aggregate? Is that the same? Is that term interchangeable?
Yes and no.
Okay.
More no than yes.
Okay.
Because with your aggregate, and I loved when you said macadam, because not many people know that is the technical term for asphalt.
Right.
Your base rock is made up of different rock sizes, and it's normally like a 1/2 inch minus with different sieve sizes of sand.
Okay.
That sand would be the dust either from a lime rock deposits from being crushed
Right.
or the concrete from being crushed. And it's a good mixture of the two, and you want a lot of fines in there so everything binds together.
Oh, that makes sense. Right.
That's what makes it good. And for parking lots, your normal 6 inches of base rock is what you want. Roadways, you'd like to see 8 inches, and most of your highways and byways, they can go anywhere from 12 inches to 24 inches of base
Right.
prior.
But that's heavy traffic.
That's
continuous,
I-95,
right.
correct. That's
Yes.
I-95 Federal Highway. Parking lots, 6 inches are more than sufficient of base rock. Prior to you base rock, you have to have a good, solid subgrade.
Explain to the audience what that means.
A subgrade is everything that's underneath that the rock and the parking lot asphalt sits on.
Okay.
If you have a weak subbase, which here in South Florida, again, muck and sand,
Right.
you may have to do what we call solidify
Right.
that subgrade, which means take some of the clean fill, bring it in, mix it with maybe a little bit of rock, compact it, make sure the compaction's good and solid. And a lot of the companies out there, it's a geotech companies, come out and they will do a density test for you. If you have anything under 98%, that does not call for a good subgrade or base rock.
Wow, this is such good information. Okay, so we know in Florida and other parts of the country, this is beneficial too. But for us in Florida, he's correct. There's a lot of because mucky, not solid ground. Now they probably add to that to solidify it, and then they have to kind of pack it down, right? They
Large compactors,
right?
Whether they be large rollers with what we call Vivator rollers, that both drums just vibrate. And if you're sitting in your house, pictures will fall off the wall.
And I'll get the call.
Yes,
so,
she will.
Yes, right.
But unfortunately, that's something that has to be done.
Right. It's part of the deal.
It's part of the deal.
As we say, if you want an omelet, we have to break some eggs, right?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Quite a
So
few.
this is good information. So having a good sub base,
Yes.
right? And then having the correct combination of the aggregate or the base,
The rock base.
rock base. And then you've got to, that's when you're doing a new,
That's when you're doing new parking
Okay.
lots.
right.
That also goes if you're adding, if you want a few extra stalls installed or some islands that shouldn't really be there because you need extra parking because you never
Right.
have enough parking.
Right.
That is where that will come in as well.
Interesting. So we know what happens when you're either installing a new parking lot or, macadam. And we now kind of know what we need to do in terms of, depending on where you live, whether you have all of those elements. Talk to us a little bit about repairing during the process of seal coating.
The first thing we'd like to do is when I visit a parking lot is I like to look for all your trip hazards because
Right.
trip hazards can be costly, not to just the property managers but the board as well. Many people will be walking through the parking, and we do have a lot of shufflers here
We do.
that
Indeed.
will just right on down and that's where it starts to fall.
Right.
The potholes and the root damages are your biggest things that we'd like to come in and address first.
Right.
And the process of that, it's a very simple process, actually. We come in with a large street saw. We saw cut it out. I mean, there's no science to it. We pick it out and throw it in the back of a truck. At that point, we will either add more base rock if needed, because sometimes people like to put asphalt upon asphalt upon asphalt upon
Right.
asphalt.
You've rescued me from that
Yes,
a couple of
and
times.
just
yes.
to let you know, more asphalt does not mean better.
Good to know.
After we compact, make sure that the base rock is good, put a product tack down. Tack is, layman's term, asphalt glue. It's what the asphalt will stick and adhere to.
Okay, that makes sense.
After you put the tack all in the areas that you need, you'll have, your new asphalt come in, whether it comes in through a machine as a paving machine or the guys have to shovel it in. Smaller
Right.
patches, obviously, the
shovel
guys
in.
shovel it in and rake it out or loot, as we call it in the industry, by hand. You always want to go a hair higher than your existing.
Interesting. Why is that?
That way, when you compact it, you're level with the surrounding areas, and you're not creating a low point to hold water.
That's a good point. Okay.
I find that a lot of companies in the industry, they will shy that part of it, and instead of having a nice flat, even surface, you'll have a little...
Dippity-do. We don't like the dippity-do. And one of the things that Michael has helped me learn is when I don't necessarily have his level of expertise, not even close, but I can see there's a pothole. But then he'll say, well, look at that over there. Something that I didn't even notice. There are large cracks, or a repair that was done previously was not done correctly. And what I find is working with Michael and his company, whomever it is he is with, that he tends to cut out a bit more than the areas that the other contractors I have worked with in the past. You know, if I've got a small patch, they fix a small patch, but he kind of looks beyond that and says, no, see, here's your problem. And the last project he did for us, I think it was a couple of years ago, is still beautiful.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
I appreciate
absolutely.
that. What a lot of people look at is they're looking at their parking lot. They'll see a water sitting in a spot.
Right.
They'll say, well, I just need you to fix that little area. Mm-hmm. It's not always that little area.
Absolutely.
How do they say? You have to look outside the box sometimes. You have to go beyond
You do.
and find out where the low spot starts and pick it up from there.
Yes, and he has, and has done, and has taught me a lot in terms of kind of the places where people mostly park, and then areas around drains that are problematic, and then the places where there's a regular ingress and egress, where the parking lot meets kind of the municipal area. There tends to be a lot of problems there because
Always.
it's very different surfaces, right?
Always, yes, because the city that we enjoy and love does not want to hold their own water. They
Right.
want to put it on your property.
Right.
And that's where most of your potholes and what we call delaminating starts. Delaminating is a term is when you overlay your parking lot, water tends to get up underneath, whether it be cracks or at a seam. Now, once water intrudes and starts picking it up, it pops that top layer off the bottom layer. That's where the term delaminating comes. And you find that a lot at the city right-of-ways where they
Right.
tie into your properties. Why? Because they dump the water on your property.
Right. And does it have anything to do with the fact that they're installing a roadway for vehicular traffic that's kind of constant, and then maybe the developer did not meet that same level of installation? Does that have anything to do with it, or is it the transition? That's just the problem.
50% of it's transition.
Okay.
The other part of it is, it's always two different types of asphalt. You have your road asphalt, which is what we call S1, or a super paved super mix, which is just large aggregate with no sand whatsoever.
Oh,
To where
interesting.
parking lots, they use a type 3 or what we call an S3 that has a lot of sand and much smaller aggregate.
Yes.
So you'll have two different types butting up against each other.
Right.
And that larger aggregate, the water will seep through it. No doubt about that.
Right.
Perfect example, if you see 95 when they're paving it, you'll see it's all nice and smooth. Then you'll come back when they're finished and it looks like it's rocky asphalt. They do that specifically so water does hit that bottom and sheets
Yes.
to the
Interesting.
drains.
Yeah.
Then that way you don't get that's why you don't get hydroplaning on highways.
See all this good stuff we're learning from Michael Nero. Michael, if you would just tell the audience how they can reach you, if they would like to have you come out and take a look at their issues, or just put your information kind of in their Rolodex, if you will, for when they need someone, how can they reach you?
You can reach me by email or phone number.
Okay, would you give them your phone number?
My phone number is area code 561-212-3974.
And your email?
My email is michael.nero@att.net.
Terrific. Okay, so we
And
are
that's
going to...
Nero with an I.
Michael, Niro. Yes. Michael, and I think that we'll have a banner with his information when we come back from the break. So we're going to take a quick break. If you would just hang out with us, we'll see you on the other side in less than 2. See you on the other side. Hello, listeners. It's Tanoa Lynn from Community Conversations. Did you know I authored a book called 365 Tips for Community Association Managers, Property Managers, and Property Owners? Yep, I did. The book is filled with little, bite-sized morsels that may help anyone working and living in any community. From working with difficult people to building consensus for big projects. There is something in it for everyone. 365 Tips is available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also go online to hellotanoa.com. That's hello, TANOA.com. Imagine having one place you can call for all your residential needs, whether it's housekeeping, repairs, remodeling, pet sitting, laundry, or anything else your heart desires. La Concierge Services is your answer. Our qualified staff is carefully chosen, experienced, licensed, and insured. They are prompt, professional, and courteous. La Concierge Services is honored to serve in South Florida's most exclusive communities. With La Concierge Services, you have a full-service, personal concierge. We would love the opportunity to earn your business. Call 561-819-2059 for more information. La Concierge Services, your personal concierge. Welcome back. This is Tanoa Lynn Poirier with Community Conversations. And I want to remind you that this show is about you. If you'd like to join the show, you can call us at 888-565-1470. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah.
Welcome back. You caught us chatting at the break. I'm so happy you joined me. You're listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa. I'm your host, Tanoa Lynn Poirier. And I understand we have a caller on the line. Caller, what's your name? Where are you from? Nope. Are they gone? Caller? Are you there? Oh, well, we had a caller. They hung up. So maybe they'll call back and maybe they won't. But before the break, we were talking about kind of all of the ways that, all of the things that go into creating a new asphalt from the builder, or as sometimes you have a plant area in the median and we need a new parking space, so we're going to use that and create a new parking area. Or we also learn the difference between seal coating, very important, and resurfacing. And maybe in other parts of the country, they use them interchangeably. We do not use them interchangeably here. They are not the same thing. One is, fairly reasonable. It helps protect your macadam for a while, and in conjunction, you can do some repairs. The resurfacing is kind of resurfacing of your entire parking lot area, and that is a huge investment for your community. So Michael can and would be happy to, I'm sure, if you are not sure where you are, if you are just taking over a new property, or you recognize that you're having a series of issues with tree root intrusion, potholes, the transitions between where the community ends and the municipal or the town roadway begins. Typically that transition, that ingress and egress, has some issues where you have some potholes and some delaminating, as he taught us. Give him a call. He can help you fix all of those issues. And for budgeting purposes, if you have not encouraged your board to prepare for this kind of expensive proposition, and they are responsible for maintaining all of the areas of the community, call him and just say, where are we? I need to know what to expect so that I can prepare the board so that we can begin to reserve or save or special assess for this project that we need to do. He can help you, give you those numbers. He'd be happy to. It doesn't cost anything, correct?
Not a dime.
And then when you're ready to do it, you'll just call and say, hey, I think we're ready, or this is a 3-year project and we're planning it. And when you're ready, you'll have him update the proposal so that's something you can present and have your board approved. Does that make sense?
very good sense.
So if you would give the audience your telephone number again in case they need you yesterday.
It's 561-212-3974, or I can be emailed at michael.nero@att.net.
And that's N-I-R-O, michael.niro@att.net. Now, one of the things I also want to encourage you, community managers, to do is as you begin these projects, because we want you to continue to be valuable and add value to your professional relationship with your board, take pictures before and after of everything you do. We're in January, we're at the end of January, and you have likely performed some kind of project on your property. Get those pictures, put them in your January file, and make sure that at the end of the year you are prepared to show them the value of professional management. One of the things that we do is we have relationships with someone like Michael Nero, who we can go to in the event we have a problem. And he can make you look like a star. He will teach you, as he has today, all the terminology. I learned a lot about road base and all of the contents that go into the aggregate for different areas. I didn't know any of that before today. So I am certain you learned a lot. Michael, if you could help the property managers with just a couple of things. You did encourage them to make sure they're taking care of the trip hazards.
Trip hazards are your number one, because that can get you in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
One thing I like to do, and I have been doing it for a while, with a lot of my proposals, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Mm-hmm. You can put a proposal out there all day long and, try to explain to everybody, well, it's this area here, it's this area there. With a picture, 99% of the time, whenever I present that to a property manager and they present it to a board, it really does help the property manager look good in front of the board. It
does, because a lot of people can't. In Florida, there are a lot of associations that have snowbird board members because you can't get people to volunteer, so people who don't live here full-time can't visually see what's going on. So anything you can do to help them with pictures, diagrams, square footage. Some people are just taking information in a visual way. You can put all the information you want about the narrative state of the area.
Yes.
But until you give somebody something they can see, it really doesn't make an impact because they're not in town.
They're not
they can't
there
go
to
look
see
at
it. Exactly.
And so you want as much buy-in and support as you can when you're making these recommendations. You're going to be in charge of making sure all the logistics are correct and making sure all the planning and the preparations happen, that your owners are properly noticed so that they can either get out of the way or park off-site or whatever it needs to happen in order to facilitate this. So do yourself a favor. Get your proposals. Make sure you and Michael or whomever it is you use, and I hope it's Michael, take pictures. It will help you be more successful when you are presenting that to the board and the owners if they're there. And don't forget to take pictures for your file for next year. It's over. Isn't that fast?
Fast.
Thank you. We'll see you next week with another exciting show. It's been my honor. I appreciate being able to talk to you every week. I'll see you next time. Be a blessing to someone. See ya. Bye. You have been listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa Lynn Poirier. It is my honor to host this program, and I appreciate you listening. We have an exciting show planned for you next week, so mark your calendars and join me every Friday at 5 p.m. on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. We look forward to hearing from you, our listeners. It's all about learning, sharing, and teaching. We're all in this together. Until next time, be a blessing to someone and endeavor to persevere.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored